Halloween
forever.
It's I hope we never part. Now get it right or pay the price. Sorry, guys. We got some unruly campers here. Welcome once again to another Minisode of Halloween is Forever. My name's Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve. That was really, really anticlimactic.
I was a little bit worried.
I play it fast and loose. It's the name of the game. Make it up as I go. So welcome once again. Like I said, we got another mini-sode here for you today. This, believe it or not, is our second try at recording this mini-sode. We are here on a lovely Sunday afternoon. The birds are chirping. It's a mild 72 degrees. I can feel the spooky season approaching us and some fall weather. I was up bright and early this morning, and it was like 55 degrees. I was wearing a sweatshirt. Oh, it was giving me all them spooky autumn feels. Autumnal, I would go as far as to say, feels. But we tried to record on Friday night, Friday the 13th. At my house. We were going to have a little gathering. So Friday the 13th was my birthday. And we were having a little gathering, little spooky movie night outdoors. The weather wasn't cooperating, so we were going to move it indoors. We started recording because we were going to record right before, right? So Meg and Steve are at my house. We're drinking beers, we're hanging out. And then the weather got real nasty and the power went out, but then it came right back on. So we're like, oh, okay, crisis averted. Let's pick up where we left off. And then just the sky opened up and just fucking hell rained down on us. And it was legit, not even exaggerating, the strongest storm I've ever seen in person in my life. It was wild.
It kind of just felt so like appropriate, but also unfortunate.
It was wild.
I just felt like, lights are out, candles are getting lit, and we need to start telling scary stories to one another.
Yeah, it was like 70 miles an hour wind. Like it was
insane.
Beating against the house. Obviously, the power went out and was out for like 15 hours until the mid part of the next day. But we went outside after, just kind of surveying the damage out of my porch. We were like running out there, like, because there were just trees down everywhere, all over the road. There were people like stranded on the road. We were like pulling branches off the road to like people to pass, and we're like, wait, no, there are 3 trees up ahead of that, so let's not even fucking worry about it. And then there was a giant like 35-40 foot pine tree just laying on the power lines in front of my house. And we're like, I don't think we're going to record anything today. So we gave up and started over, and we couldn't have either anyway, because like I said, the power was off for like 15 hours. But luckily, a bunch of my lovely friends still braved the weather, even though we told them we don't have power. You're welcome to come over, but don't feel like you have to. A bunch of them came over, and we ended up drinking a bunch of beers and talking and eating charcuterie and all manner of things until the wee hours of the morning in our sweaty, humid, dark house. But it ended up being a lot of fun.
I really want to know how the cake turned out.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I was very drunk by the time I was eating it, but it was fantastic. My wife, I'll have to post a picture of it. I'm sure she took a picture. Might have been by candlelight, but she made me this really rad, like layered pistachio cake that had like blood dripping down all over it and like a knife stuck in the top of it. It was super sick.
I was curious whether or not that was like red velvet cake, or you said pistachio. That sounds
yeah, it was
too.
red. It was red velvet with white, but it had like a pistachio kind of flavoring to it.
That's probably the most old man cake I've ever heard about.
Only the most geriatric of flavors appeal to me. It's pistachio. It's
don't let her bad talk. I'm into it too.
I love pistachio. Otherwise, I eat like German chocolate cake with coconut. Like that's I'll just sit here and suck on my filaments.
I'm just imagining like at the end of the night, you're like, I'm done and I'm wasted, but I'm like bummed about this, and you're just like sitting there eating the cake in the dark.
Oh yeah. No, we actually had a really good time. We ended up staying
That's
up
awesome.
late, and everyone hung out. And like I said, it was very sweaty and very dark, but we ended up having a blast. So, needless to say, round 2 here. We got beers. Actually, speaking of beers, what are you guys drinking? I'm about to crack this bad boy here. What do you guys got? No, Meg is nursing a hangover. I'm out here right now. She's drinking liquid
the
IV.
most delicious watermelon liquid IV right now.
Oh, talk to us about the esters. Talk to us about some of the nuances.
You take that fake sweet flavor that's just like coating my mouth.
I
that
assume
aspartame.
you decocted it still, though, right?
Yes, absolutely. The watermelon, though, was just picked today and, put directly into the drink.
And then synthesized down into an extract in a matter of moments.
How easy is it to transition from liquid IV watermelon to truly watermelon?
I imagine
I
imagine
blend them.
alarmingly easy.
Super. If I had like a watermelon White Claw right now, I would probably be mixing them.
Yeah.
Because you guys know me. I go for effects sometimes.
A little bit of medicine, a little bit of the hair of the dog to bit you,
Yeah, a little bit of medicine, a little bit of medicine. I mean, what else can you do? What do you got, Steve? You got anything in front of you?
Yes, I have a beer from Inner Groove. It's called their 1,000 Pieces New England IPA. And yeah, it's just a nice, soft New England IPA. Brewed with cashmere, citra, raquel, and sequoia hops.
Ooh, Juicy Sunday. Juicy Sunday at Steve's house.
Very juicy. Juicy lunch.
I am doing the thing that I have been doing for several weeks now and will continue to do for several more weeks, which is just drinking pretty much exclusively Oktoberfest. I have Masthead. Oktoberfest, Masthead from downtown Cleveland, Ohio. It's pretty cool spot, actually. They have a lot of great beers. They also have killer pizza. They have like Sicilian style pizza and stuff, but seeing a lot more of their stuff in cans in my general proximity. So grabbed me a little Ovefest, and I'm digging it. I have not burned out, and I imagine I've got a solid, what's today? At least a solid 5 more weeks of drinking almost exclusively Oktoberfest before I switch to pumpkin beers for a brief time. And then...
Right on. Yeah, I like Masthead, though. They have a good single origin coffee stout that I like.
Yeah, I've had the coffee stout. They had a what do they call it? Like a spring fest or something? It was basically like kind of like a fest beer as opposed to like the Märzen style that they brewed like earlier in the summer. It might have just been called Summerfest. No, they probably weren't allowed to call it Summerfest because of Sierra Nevada. But in any case, it was pretty good, and I like a lot of the stuff there. I don't think I've had anything from them that disagreed with me too much. So yummy. So once again, we were going to record on Friday the 13th. We attempted to record on Friday 13th, and then all hell broke loose. I'm pretty sure it was Meg's fault. I don't know 100%. I cannot confirm this.
It's your birthday present that I will take blame for all of this.
I can't confirm this, but I'll explain why I mean that in a second. Because we want to do something Friday the 13th themed, right? But for those of you who are new to the show, might be tuning in for the first time, we're like every week we're gaining a lot of new listeners, which is super rad. But I feel like I keep explaining myself every time, which is probably not a bad thing. But so we do one showdown episode a month, which is like our bigger, kind of longer format episode where we pick a topic, a subgenre, whatever. We pick 3 of them from a big kind of pool of topics that we've come up with, or many of them have been suggested by our social media friends and listeners. We pull 3 of them, we put them on social media. Folks will vote, right, of the 3 which one they want. We do that once a month, and the kind of intermediate episodes, what we're calling minisodes, which are rarely that mini in nature, we will do a whole host of whatever other topics, little like one-off type of thing, that sort of stuff. So we wanted to do something Friday the 13th theme, but we just did our Halloween sitcom episode for August, and for September we know what our topic's going to be, which we'll announce here in a sec. But we didn't want to do a Friday the 13th full show for a minisode because we want to save that for a showdown, right? It's one of the biggest franchises in horror. So Steve had a great idea, which was, let's talk about fan films, because the Friday 13th franchise is dripping with fan films. There's like fucking 40 of them. I swear, I didn't realize. I knew there was one. I know there's, all the major franchises have fan films. I did not realize how many there are, and frankly, how long. I watched 3 of them in the last few days. One of them was 30 minutes. The other 2 were 60 minutes, and I think there's like full 120, 130-minute feature-length Friday the 13th fan films out there, which is wild to me. But so we're going to talk about fan films. We're specifically going to talk about one that just came out. Steve, did you say it came out yesterday or in the last couple of days here?
So if you're listening on August the 16th, where it literally came out Friday the 13th.
Oh,
like
they
released it. Yeah, they released it Friday the 13th, and that's kind of why we have like this. It's kind of a boon that your power got knocked out, because now we can talk about this film in a very timely manner. Because originally we were going to talk about Never Hike Alone in the Snow. But I'm sure we'll touch on it, but now we're going to talk about Jason Rising, which came out on Friday the 13th.
And this is what I meant when I said this was Meg's fault, because we knew we were going to talk about Friday the 13th, and we came over and recording, and we were going to talk about the Never Hike in the Snow. And Meg was like, I did not watch that movie. Okay,
I don't know how I walked away from our entire week of texting being like, I have no idea what we're talking about tonight.
So we were like, all right, we'll just make fun of you the whole time. We'll just drag you through with the conversation. And then hell broke loose. So she didn't even have to. She got. It's like getting a snow day when you didn't do your homework. Like, that's pretty much
that was exactly what happened. But here's the thing: is that I was watching the movies, I was preparing for this.
Get
recording,
ready for an explanation, listeners. Get ready.
And then I get a text saying, "Hey, we're actually going to watch a different movie now." And I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?" But no, I'm really excited because it ended up being good. It was a good chill afternoon.
The funny thing is, all 3 of those movies. So I watched the Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, and then Jason Rising. Yep. All 3 of them combined were shorter than Army of the Dead. So I'm looking all right with that. And we talked a while about this is months ago. We've like around our first episode, we were like, should we do an episode on Army of the Dead? Everyone's kind of talking about it. And then we all started watching it. We're like, fuck this noise. We are not doing an episode on this piece of shit.
It would have been a super negative episode, like right out the box. And that's not
it would have been like our first mini-sode and us just going, fuck, we hate this movie. And we're like, oh, let's stay positive. But in any case,
we can say the 3 that we did watch didn't give us that feeling, because I think generally I liked all 3 of those short films.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. I was really impressed with them, especially as fan films. So we should probably mention, for those of you who don't know what a fan film is, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a film. An unsanctioned, not part of the canon, obviously, or the franchise proper. It's usually made completely independent of anybody who owns any of the copyrights or anything to the individual properties. But certainly the really popular horror properties and franchises out there usually have fan films, and they're made by fans, typically speaking, amateurs, but with the advent of like YouTube and people literally premiering movies on YouTube now, this one that we're going to talk about specifically had quite a few like accomplished actors in it, and obviously much more professional than your average fan film. I think once upon a time, less, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even less than that, because 2017 is when Never Hike Alone came out, right? So like around that time, even that was like super high production value and everything for a fan film. But a lot of fan films are very, amateur made, very short, sometimes just a faux trailer for a non-existent movie.
Right.
They can, or a short film. These ones are, the Never Hike Alone was, I think, about an hour. Then the Never Hike in the Snow was about 30 minutes, and then Jason Rising is again about an hour. So these are like these are pretty beefy films, cheesy beefy films. But they they're independent of the actual franchise proper, and the quality, as you might imagine, varies dramatically. So these films are certainly on the upper echelon of quality when it comes to a fan film. I would imagine, like, this is something if you paid money to see, you wouldn't feel slighted in any way at all. Like, these are really well made films. So
yeah.
And I think like what we all took away too, it's just like we didn't really realize going into it that they all were kind of like made around the same like company. So that was really cool too. I think
they
we'll touch on later.
They share some DNA. right? We were talking about, what's the production company, Meg, that you were saying?
Womp Stomp Films.
The Womp
Based
Stomp
out of
Studios. You know, they definitely have, like, I think they all share some producing credits in some way, or some of the crew or something like that. So these movies definitely have share some DNA there. In any case, before we get moving forward, a couple of follow-ups from the last episode. We mentioned something, and I can't believe I didn't know this. I feel like an absolute asshole. There is a sequel to Head of the Family.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. And I didn't write it down, so I only half prepared for this. But there is a Head of the Family sequel. What's the name of it? Because I'm going to get it wrong.
Bride of the Head of the Family.
The Bride of the Head of the Family. Because I remember Meg was like, "Oh, he was looking for a significant other and all that sort of thing." We were giving her a hard time because we were like, "That's not actually in the movie." Like we were but I'm like, "Oh, she must have just saw the sequel." And like in an altered state, did not, was just getting drunken recall of the
plot of the other.
I dream about pumpkins and Head of the Family now. That's all exclusively.
That's really all you need if you really think about it. So yeah, there is. I have not seen it. It's called Bride of Head of the Family. I'm 100% going to watch it the second we get off this. But yeah, I was kind of screwing around on Instagram and saw that pop up and someone mentioned it and I was like, holy shit, how do I not know this? So
what year was that from?
There's no way it was 2020. Is it Bride of Head of the Family?
No.
Bride of Head of the Family is an upcoming American comedy horror film, feature film that continues the bizarre saga of Myron Stackpole and his deranged siblings. It is a belated sequel to Head of the Family 1996. Wow, there's a weird shrunken head preacher on the thing. It looks rad. The preview just dropped last year, and it's supposed to come out this year.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it comes out this fall because then we just have epic movie night. I would love to watch this and just do a commentary episode. That would be hilarious.
I am pretty psyched for Bride of Head of the Family. It might have just fell the wayside with a lot of 2020 slated releases.
Yeah.
They wanted to do the giant, red carpet, Hollywood premiere with A-list celebrities. Of course, they would all come out for Bride of Head of the Family, but they had to pull the plug on it because of COVID. I don't know, but I'm interested to. Hopefully, it still happens. If it hasn't already, I'm hoping it still happens because, listen, 1996 to 2021. You know what? Better late than never. Better late than never.
I kind of like that it was initially slated to come out on Valentine's Day because I'm like, that would have been the most romantic date night.
How much romantic? Two big giant head dummies making out. How fucking good would that be?
I just assume it's a lot of tongue.
Yeah,
just
they recreate the Slimer tongue scene from the first movie. Oh, I love it.
I just feel good. I just like knowing that it's not something that came out in the 90s or the early 2000s that we missed. It's just something that may or may not have been released at all.
Yeah, I don't feel as stupid now because I was like, there's no way this came out and I didn't hear about it because I love this movie. So I actually feel a little bit better knowing that it may or may not have come out or is coming out. But yeah, so I
better get a trademark on this real fast before it comes out.
Squat on that IP. Hurry. Well, fantastic. Let's talk about our next. So we had some topics that got thrown out there on the social medias for everyone to help us vote on and decide what our September, which will come out in the first week of September, Showdown episode is. So our topics that the random topic generator pulls from that kind of working list, the ones that it came up with were Chucky / Child's Play, so anything in the Child's Play universe, Giallo, and modern slashers, which we were defining as 2000s to present, or the year 2000 to present. And a pretty commanding victory in what our September Showdown episode will be is modern slashers. So pretty excited about that because I was already looking at what I might pick, and 20 years is a fuckload of time for a lot of movies to come out, because you could go anywhere from, when did Scream 2 come out? Was that not, that might have been 99.
Might have been 99, might have been 2000.
Yeah, so you could do all those like early 2000s, kind of teen heartthrob slashery types of movies, all the way to like some of the independent, really cool stuff that has come out on like Shudder in recent years. So like, there's a fuckload of stuff to choose from. I got it weaned down from. I think I had like 10 movies on the list down to like 4. So I've made some progress.
You're doing better than
Yeah. And you know what? I'll still come up with something the day of and go, fuck, I should have thought about this on the list and throw it on there. But we will figure it out. So that's what our next September Showdown episode is going to be. They're the topic for that. And we will probably next episode, right? We'll announce our picks.
Yeah.
But we do have an extra Monday in August. There are 5 Mondays in August. So we'll get an extra Minisode in between our September Showdown episode.
That just means the listener has 2 extra weeks to listen to or to watch the movies that we pick.
That's true. That's a good point. So we will probably discuss it next week anyway. We'll have our picks in next episode. So
yes.
Right on. Oh, and as always, before I forget, because I have been forgetting the last couple of episodes, at the top of the show, I should probably mention, we put this stuff out there for you guys to vote, but also please send us suggestions, and we'll keep that working kind of document of potential topics rolling along. We have a whole big giant list, but the bigger the pool, the better. And you can do that by, DMing us, sending us an email, whatever, but we are at Halloween is Forever on the Instagrams, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever Podcast on Facebook, or Halloween is Forever Pod at gmail.com if you'd like to send emails. Cool. Anything else before we jump into this flick? You guys see, this is obviously first time for Jason Rising. Had either of you seen any of the fan films before?
I'd only seen trailers of the Never Hike series.
Yeah.
And so I knew they existed, but I didn't know, how good they were, what the quality was. So.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed overall. I was actually surprised, especially in Jason Rising. I think there was one actor who actually recognized her from something else prior to this, which is kind of surprising. So the Never Hike, so just for a little bit of, like, I don't want to say backstory here, but the Never Hike in the Woods was about a basically kind of a survivalist type of person or outdoor YouTuber type of person who goes out camping, and stumbles upon Camp Crystal Lake and, of course, awakens Jason, and then spends the whole movie putting up what I would consider a Julius level fight against Jason the entire film. I
guess he is a survivalist, so maybe maybe that's
he doesn't do the whole throwdown boxing scenario like Julius does in part 8. And then subsequently he did get his head punched off, so he didn't do that great of a job. But this guy actually holds up. Like, he was it was impressive. That's the one thing I noticed with these. And again, these aren't canon, I get it. But even throughout the films, how overpowered Jason is compared to his victims varies dramatically from film to film. Yeah. In some movies, he might as well be fucking Godzilla. You know what I mean? He's just like unstoppable. You think he's going to shoot fucking fire out of his mouth. And then the next episode, there's like some dorky YouTuber who's like, giving a run for his money. But
I think that speaks to just kind of the nature of the fan film, and especially like the first one of Never Hike Alone is they're trying to fill up, a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
And so
you felt it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you felt it. Like, I think they learned with Never Hike in the Snow being only a half hour that that the original Never Hike Alone was too long. Because that's what
they were definitely trying to fill it with all the little things of him doing the clues, and him finding things, and then he's got to report to record it on his YouTube video and all this stuff. Like, it definitely it dragged at times. Yeah, Never Hike in the Snow was perfectly paced. I was really impressed by that. And spoilers abound, obviously. We're going to talk about all these movies. We're not going to talk about the first two as in depth as we do Jason Rising, but the Never Hike in the Snow, it was the way they have it set up. You see the kill, like the main characters getting murdered by Jason Voorhees within the first 2 minutes, but you don't know anything about him. You haven't developed any type of connection to him or anything like that, so you don't care about him at all. And you get this super brutal kill with some really great practical effects. And then you learn why you should care about him a little bit. So you kind of get to enjoy the just Jason doing Jason shit. And then you go back and you kind of get that same level of like, you know, connection to the character and make you care about them a little bit more. But how did you guys feel about Jason with the bow and arrow?
Yeah, I feel like it was a little out of character, but I wanted to comment about that kill.
Like,
though.
does Jason take archery lessons? Like, I mean, he was a camper. He was a camper.
I mean, he
obviously
didn't like hit him in the chest like he should have.
No.
So like he wasn't super accurate. But I don't know how you guys felt about that kill, and when that character got the axe to the mouth, I was just like being triggered back to summers when I was a child, eating all of those freeze pops like all day, and just like, wow, I understand how that feels.
Yeah, it was like it was brutal. I mean, it was a little cartoonish, but the effect was good.
Yeah.
But it was Jason basically like cut his head in half with an axe. And I was debating whether Jason meant to hit him in the leg with the arrow so that it would drop him so that he could go up and finish him off with the axe. But Jason is like he's just a big blunt killing machine, right? So like for him to be using a bow and like imagine Jason like having like a quill of arrows, is that what they're called, or like whatever they're called, you know, the little bag of arrows, like just seems so at odds with him. Like he barely like, I mean, obviously he's like a weird undead zombie, but like you see him just in this shack with like rotted corpses and everything. But then you imagine you're going to pan around and there's his coffee table with his keys, his cell phone, his bow and arrow, his quill of arrows. Like it doesn't seem like he has like a lot of storage area in that shed either. I'm like, him using any tool that isn't just this is something I found, an axe, a machete, whatever, seemed a little much for me. I get the fact that, you know, it's not in canon and all that, so you can push the envelope, and they do it in Jason Rising for sure, but in some different ways. So
I think the arrow, the only thing it did help was like move it along faster, because it's like, how is he going to catch this dude at this time when this dude's like bolting from him? Like if they did a longer chase scene, that movie would have been probably an extra 10 minutes, you know.
Yes, so that.
But I don't agree with it.
That absolutely stands to reason. That guy was running, he was fast, he was athletic, and all that stuff. But countless other campers have been killed by a briskly walking Jason when they were in full sprint mode. So,
briskly walking Jason, or he's just thrown other things.
A
spear,
you definitely could have found a rock or something like that. No, I mean, commenting on like, I feel like each movie had some element of like cinematography. Then I think that the movies kind of had something that stands out for all of them. You know, like the chase scene, the initial chase scene with the survivalists, I thought was really, really cool. The way like you could feel the chaos, like. In the chase,
because they even kind of incorporated like a found footage element into that one of you know, you saw his vlog and you saw what his vlog saw.
And then it got tied into Never Hike in the Snow because it was supposed to have taken place 3 months before the events of Never Hike Alone, and it was supposed to be like after, you know, that guy or after, I don't remember his name, but after that kid got killed or whatever, you know, that was supposed to have happened. I think they made some sort of mention of like a missing person in that area or something. I don't really remember, but it was in the same universe, and it goes back to what's his name, Vincente DeSanti, who's made several, fan films. I think he's actually made a Halloween fan film too, which I have not watched, but I'm going to get deep into now I'm down the rabbit hole of fan films. So,
but I think they definitely showed us that it's like worth checking out their fan films.
Yeah.
And
it speaks to the production value and just kind of like what they learn as they keep making these films. Because like we were saying, hey, there's like good production value in the first one, but it's a little overlong. The second one is shorter and it's a little bit better. And then I feel like Jason Rising, because they go back up to like the hour-long version, format, there's also like a lot of production value in it as well. And you get like the very first thing you get is really good production value in drone shots over the lake and everything. Like that's in previous years, you would have to either hire a helicopter or a giant ass jib to do those kind of shots. But now that you can get a drone at the prosumer level, you get some amazing cinematography for short fan produced films.
I love that they used it because drone shots, because like you said, they are impressive. They make things seem bigger than they are and all that stuff. And they are relatively cheap. I mean, you could hire somebody that comes and does for a very reasonable rate, I'm sure. But they actually tied it into the foot chase at the beginning. It wasn't just what can we afford? Drones? Okay, drone shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? They actually tied it into the chase, which I thought was pretty kind of taking it to a little bit of a next level there, which was kind of cool. But the one thing I've noticed about two other things I've noticed about all these fan films. One, they really like to dig deep into the character universe of the entire franchise and like make connections, you know what I mean? Or even in some instances, I mean, in Never Hike in the Snow, Tom Matthews was in it, who plays Tommy Jarvis in part 6.
Right.
He was in it as Tommy Jarvis. And then they did like, what was the actor's name? Vincent Gastafaro, I think it was. He played Deputy Rick in Jason Lives in part 6. And then now he's Sheriff Rick.
Right.
So he's been promoted, he's now the sheriff from whatever. So they definitely like to, and of course we'll get into Jason Rising in a second. But yeah, they dig pretty deep into the mythos and the larger cinematic universe for Friday the 13th.
Yeah. And that also just adds to the production value of the movies as well, because like, I don't know, even today, I wouldn't think to ask Tobin Bell to be in my Saw, my Saw fan film. But like, you think about how they
are making
right,
currently.
Exactly, yeah, totally am. But they bring back the older actors from the franchise and give them, it gives them a second life in a way. It gives the characters a second life. But, it adds production value because they got the original actor to reprise the role. And, like, both Never Hike films did that. Jason Rises does it. And then there's another film being made. It may be out or may be coming out soon. It's called Roseblood, which follows up on the Friday the 13th 7 kind of arc of the ESP and everything. And they bring back Terry Kaiser to play Dr. Cruz, and they bring back Lar Park Lincoln to play Tina Shepard. And
she was the fire starter girl, right? Yeah, or she was the telepathic. What do they call it in the movie?
Telepathy.
Telepathy.
Telekinesis.
Telekinesis. That's telekinesis, Kyle.
Telekinesis.
Yes. So no, that sounds pretty interesting. I like part 7. I know a lot of people don't like part 7. I like part 7. I like I said, there's not a lot of movies in this franchise that I just flat out don't give a shit about. Whereas I'm a much bigger Halloween fan of that franchise, but there are some movies I really don't give a shit about. So it's like the highs are higher, but the lows are lower. And I feel like in Friday the 13th, they're all pretty watchable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2, I'm not a huge fan of 2. I know people like it a lot. It's probably one of my least favorite ones in the franchise. I know a lot of people are having a lot of love for Jason X nowadays. I could take or leave Jason X. I mean, it's fine. I just rewatched it not that long ago. I don't hate it. But the rest of them are all like, I really enjoy pretty much every movie in this franchise. And I've done more so over the years. But
yeah, Jason X has like a couple moments, but overall the film doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't hit for me completely. But
yeah, everyone brings up the same thing. They're like, Jason X, and you're like, and their first thing is, but the liquid nitrogen kill, you know, and like that's cool. Yeah, that was 10 seconds, you know what I mean? It was over, and I have to sit here for 90 minutes.
There's another one where he throws somebody on top of a giant like drill.
Yeah.
And like the body spins down the drill, and that's kind of cool. But like, yeah, overall, it's like,
yeah, I could take it. I do like where they like set the trap for him by putting him in like the fake, false reality that looks like, you know, is very tongue in cheek, obviously, but I remember enjoying that, especially the first time I watched it. But I would take Jason Rising over Jason X. Let's put it that way. For sure.
Well, yeah, it's shorter and you get a lot more.
yeah. The Jason Rising is just, Jason X is obviously very much of its time, and I know there's a sect of the population, of the fan population, that's got a lot of nostalgia for it. But in any case, so let's get into Jason Rising. So like I said, this one just came out on Friday 13th, 2021. From what I understand, it picks up after the events of part 4. Is that kind of what you got in the little preamble there?
I was kind of confused on the timeline.
Yeah.
Because I guess it starts either after part 4 or part 3, because Jason at this point still seems to be human Jason.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like
that was the confusing part.
Yeah.
Because he definitely does. He's not like deteriorating, face falling off, spinal cord showing Jason,
right?
But they do talk about how like a child, you know, killed him or whatever the first, you know what I mean? They in the little like preamble, I didn't write down the quote, but they talk about Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah,
it would have been Corey Feldman era Tommy Jarvis. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In the way that they kind of talk about it as like a small kid or whatever. So, yeah, a little unclear on the timeline. I think if I probably went back and rewatched it and listened to what they said a little bit more, to be a little bit more clear. But it does sound like it's in that like after 4 or 5-ish type of area there, kind of retconned into that timeline. So, but were they? And I might have missed this part. It starts out, they kind of do this little like, you know, preamble type of thing, and then you go to some cops who are, you know, in the woods. Were they supposed to be digging up Jason and moving him, or did they get him in a coffin and they were like burying him?
They were burying him. They were like,
yeah. They were under the impression he was dead.
Yeah.
Is that what was happening?
Yeah.
Well, no, I feel like they knew he wasn't dead because they make a comment you like later, like when the younger sheriff, the son. Right. So like he was like we buried him, but he wasn't dead.
Right. But I mean, yes, they definitely realize he's not dead because he punches out of the coffin and attacks them. Right. Mm-hmm. And then they bury him alive. But prior to him reanimating within the coffin, mm-hmm. did they think he was dead? Did they think they had killed him?
Yeah. They thought,
or was he?
They thought he had been killed by Tommy Jarvis.
Okay, so that was that was the thing I was confused about. I wasn't sure if they had killed him or he was in a coffin because he was dead and they were burying him, but they were obviously being very hush hush about it. That's the other thing that was the case in the other 2 fan films, and this one I'm always very confused by why this is a secret burden on every cop in the history of the town. Why do they all desperately want to keep this secret? It's not like they're responsible for him, you know what I mean, coming back to life, or it's not like they're responsible for what he does. It's not like it's a monster of their creation or something, you know?
I guess it's like one of those things, like, I guess in the time, if you're thinking about it, you know, small ass towns only have a few things that draw in money. Mm-hmm. And only a few things that draw in tourists. And obviously, you know, there is tourism within Camp Crystal Lake. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want to be the cursed town that turns into a ghost town. You don't want to.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's the case too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like that is something like the sheriff in these towns are like the de facto mayor and everything. You know what I mean? Like they are the overseer of the town in kind of every capacity, because in a real life scenario, a cop would be like, fuck it, there's a big giant guy. He's trying to kill people. I think he's a zombie. Like I'm just like telling you guys what's happening right now. Instead, they're like, no, I'm gonna keep all this in and let this be my burden my entire life and pass it down to my son who is the next sheriff, and it's his family, it's the family curse.
Plus it's definitely like a conceit that's like been lifted from Jaws over and over because of how long the denial of the shark. So like just it's the same thing, you're just denying Jason, that Jason is a problem or Jason will come back. No, that was a one-time thing.
It couldn't happen. Couldn't happen here, not on my watch. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, they bury Jason. He comes back to life in the coffin. He starts what I assume just doing very aggressive Morse code from the inside of that from that coffin, and the cops just overreact as usual. They start blasting it. No, I did kind of get a kick out of him, just like he punches through the coffin, right, and grabs the guy's foot, and the guy shoots him. He's got like this Wyatt Earp giant ass pistol, like fucking 44, like Dirty Harry revolver, blasts him once, and then Jason just starts throwing what I can only describe as a temper tantrum inside the coffin. He's just like, no, pounding on it, two fists, and then they bury him. Which they buried. I mean, there was maybe 6 inches of soil on top of that coffin. Jason's getting his ass straight up out of there. That was.
I was pretty impressed with how shallow the grave was. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed that. I was like, that's like a foot down. Like, you don't even know how to bury people. If you have an undead
super zombie, bury him more than 4.5, 6 inches under the ground, right?
It's good practice.
Deeper than your chrysanthemums, like a little bit further down.
OSHA regulation would ask you to use concrete, but
I kept on having this thought, and it was initially happening when he first busted through the coffin, where you see it over and over again, where he can go Kool-Aid man it, and then all of a sudden he can't do anything.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure how strong he is. Like, there are times where he does stuff they're like, oh, Jason could like press lift a car over his head. He's that strong. But then the next thing, he can't get through some plywood that's boarded up above him. So little it gets, and that's across the whole franchise. That's not just picking on this movie. I feel like that's always the case. But so the sheriff from the opening scene, they insinuate that he had passed. And his son is now the sheriff. His son, the sheriff in this movie, he could be a voice double for Nick Offerman. Did you guys, did that hit you at all? I swear he sounded exactly like Nick Offerman a couple times, so much so that I was like glancing down at my phone and I heard him talking. I like expected to look up and see Ron Swanson. But he really, really had a similar voice. But pretty early on, you get a big surprise in the form of a severed dick. Pretty early in the movie. Wasn't expecting that. No explanation, just close up on a severed dick, and you're like,
it just seemed like it was a really important thing, like they didn't have to use that scene at all. You didn't have to. You just could have been like, he died. But no, we got to show the penis.
Severed dick. Bloody severed dick. They kept doing the I think I did a full cartoon double take where I was like, oh, what's that? Looked back at it.
I definitely did a rewind on the YouTube. Like I was in my phone at the moment, and I thought I saw what I saw, but I was like, wait, what? And then I hit the rewind 5 seconds. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, it was a striking image. And they go on to explain. So nothing's really happening in the town. They kind of Did you guys pick up on this? Because if they explained it, I missed it. The sheriff, and I don't have their names right now, but he's the only sheriff in the movie. There's only 8 actors in this whole movie or something like that. And the deputy, were they romantically intertwined or are they relate? Like, I never really picked up on that, but they have a history. You can tell.
Yeah, I think it's just a working history. I don't think it's actually a romantic one.
No, I didn't get this. I thought it was romantic, but then it never really panned out to something romantic. But it did suggest that they had a history, because he even explains to me, it's like she finally, she finally joined the force or whatever, and then like she obviously kind of doesn't really take his authority seriously at all. She just kind of does whatever she wants. And there was a line later where they kind of suggested that there was some sort of like history between them, and yeah, maybe there wasn't anything there, and maybe I'm
creating
creating
it. I feel like they grew
it,
up together because the way they talked, they're like, it was almost as if like, you know, like when he was talking about his dad having told all these stories, like he's like, oh yeah, no, he always told all these stories and stuff like that. So I think that was more of the vibe.
God, Steve put up the picture of the severed dick. I mean, I have never seen a real life severed dick, but I'm going to guess most of them aren't fully erect. Am I wrong in saying that is an entirely engorged penis?
Yeah, they don't stay like that.
I mean, it was a sheriff watching over a bunch of female inmates, you know?
Steve, the amount of authority you said that with creeped me out. They never stay like that.
I don't know why, and it might be from just listening to like last podcast or something, but I've heard like, yeah, once you chop off, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, that is clear. They clearly went to like the adult bookstore. They went to adamandeve.com. They bought themselves a big old dildo, and then they just covered in blood. But sorry, Meg, I completely interrupted you. Again, when you see an image like that, you just react.
I think we were just talking about penises. That's what my mind's going to. So
that is right. We were talking about dicks. But yeah, listen, we haven't had one in a while. So to get one squeezed in here is always a treat. But yeah, so
merch idea. We're just going to have a mug that has like a bloody penis on it.
Or what we should do, coffee mug, but the handle that you grab onto
there you go.
is a severed dick, bloody severed dick. There you go. $1 million merch idea. In any case, so we get that pretty early on. So nothing's really happening in the town, and then all of a sudden you get someone's requesting our assistance at whatever this location is. They get there. There are U.S. Marshals there. And apparently there was, and we got a little glimpse of, there is kind of a convict work crew from a female prison. And was it 3 or 4 of them? 3, right? 3 of them have escaped. I was waiting for them to bring it up, but they didn't. You have to insinuate, because they didn't just kill the guard.
Right.
They cut his dick off.
Right.
So there had to be some reason why they went real brutal on the guy like that. I don't think it was like we want to escape, so we're going to take the time to cut this guy's dick off. I would assume there was some real bad blood for some very serious reason, which they didn't go on to explain. But these 3 inmates, they have escaped, and they are, escaping into the woods kind of thing. And these U.S. Marshals, who seem, first of all, if there's a 3-person, escaped group of convicts, gotta assume the search party is going to be more than 2 local cops and 2 U.S. Marshals. Like,
right.
I've seen some stuff on the news. They comb the land with like hundreds of officers and stuff. This was pretty low key. And so they said they're U.S. Marshals, and then I was reading on not IMDb, but somewhere online, and they were talking about how they were trackers / mercenaries.
I see on their on the Womp Stomp website, they call them bounty hunters.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they were actually U.S. Marshals. I think there was something else, but. Why would bounty hunters go and find people who are like, oh, listen, I've watched Dog the Bounty Hunter, guys. I've watched every episode and memorized from front to back. He's like picking up people who hop bail, you know what I mean? Who skip bail or skip court appearances, not escape convicts who cut someone's dick off and killed them.
I feel like maybe the intention was like the bounty hunter thing, but they like maybe realized it didn't make sense, because I feel like it makes more sense to call a U.S. Marshal, maybe.
Because the thing is, like, they're wearing U.S. Marshal shirts and they're wearing U.S. Marshal badges. So bounty hunter doesn't make sense at all. Like,
no, it doesn't. But why were there only... Also, if like I said, if a cop was killed and there are 3 escaped murderous, dangerous convicts in a town, it's not just going to be 2 people and 2 cops, 2 marshals and 2 cops. Like, there's going to be like bring in the cavalry kind of thing, I would imagine, and snag these people up as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, we're suspending our disbelief here.
It's a suspension of disbelief because, like, maybe that initial group of the two marshals and the 2 sheriffs go into the woods initially, but like by nightfall, you're right, the cavalry should have been there.
Yeah, and they only had like 2 ATVs. Like, they would have like choppers with spotlights and freaking thermal imaging, helicopters and stuff like that. It's like very very, very low key. But again, it's a fan film. It's a small film. You got to keep it intimate. So I get it. But I did like the angle of Jason stalking the escaped prisoners who obviously just are took the place of counselors. I thought it was a cool angle.
Yeah. The whole plot device and premise of like using the prisoners, because they would obviously run directionless into the woods. And then you that draws the cops in as well. Like they have to go in and get them. So yeah, it's a good plot device to get everybody to Camp Crystal Lake.
The one thing I thought they didn't need to add that they did was that the one kind of mastermind of the three women, the three prisoners, part of her plan was to go into the restricted area of Camp Crystal Lake because no one would follow them there because it's cursed.
Yeah.
I was like, if this happened in the 17th century, maybe that would be a good, that would be a valid reason. But she's like, listen, we just murdered a cop and we're hiding in the woods and they're hunting us, but they're going to come right to the edge of Camp Crystal Lake and they're going to be like, nope, we ain't going in there. We are going to let them run free forever because we're worried about a curse. Seems kind of unlikely, but also the reason that I was almost expecting, that they found out that they weren't real U.S. Marshals or something like that. I almost wonder if that was part of it and then it got pulled back. I don't know. Is the U.S. Marshals were absolute dipshits. You know what I mean? Like they were supposed to be these like trained trackers, and they set up the idea of like the one guy's like checking that one little branch was broken, and now he knows exactly where they are, and he's checking footprints and all that stuff. But he's also just like walking around singing in the woods and just stomping around like just all over the place. He's like, by no means is he, light of foot by any stretch of the imagination.
And I felt like the other guy that was with Bear. So Bear is the tracker. He was the one actively tracking, but then I'm seeing character's name is Jed. I felt like throughout the whole thing, he was just
Jed.
a bitch.
That makes
he
sense.
was just a
Jed.
bitch.
He's dumb as a box of rocks. He's a Jed.
Scared all the time. He's just
See, it wouldn't be surprising if he was like a local cop who was one of the few people who graduated to the federal level in the area.
It could be. Yeah. He was Jed's good old boy, local boy, done good. I was. They reminded me of, and now I never remember if it's 4 or 5. I think it's 5. Halloween Part 5 with the two like bumbling like Keystone cops.
Yeah, it's 5.
They literally play like silly Foley music behind them when they come up on the screen.
Yeah.
Like I was waiting for that to happen with these two fucking chuckleheads. Which
is funny. Like I had just recently rewatched all those Halloween films. The reason why they're cops is because in 4 all the cops get killed. Right. So they have to draw from the idiots in town to be cops in 5.
That's right. I was pretty sure. I could always forget, but yeah, it's definitely 5. Yeah. That's another one that like once upon a time I fucking hated 5, but I kind of like it now. It's kind of stupid, but I don't know. It's still all right.
That background music still fucking sucks and doesn't work.
It's such a weird decision. But this is a quote I wrote down. Maybe my favorite quote from the movie is where the head kind of brains of the operation of the 3 convicts that have escaped. She starts telling them kind of an abbreviated version of the Jason and Pamela Voorhees legend. And she's like, some ugly ass kid named Jason drowned here. How do you know he's ugly? How do you know he's ugly? Or are you just being mean? I don't know. I just got some ugly ass kid. I thought that was funny. I mean, apparently the U.S. Marshals are afraid of curses, and you know what? They should be, obviously. But the other thing, besides the pulling in the peripheral characters from the franchise, that's something that the fan films really like to do. The other thing is, boy, do they overuse the or the mama, whatever you want to call it. I swear, every time you hear somebody talk about, because everyone always says but then they go, no, it's actually mama, because it's kill mom, from mother to kill. But then I've heard other people say, no, that's bullshit. That's not what it is. And I swear it changes movie to movie. Anyway, these fan films, usually it's a big like stinger. It's a thing like leading up to a big stinger. It's something that happens a couple times in the whole movie. The fan films, they lay it on fucking heavy. Every 5 seconds you're hearing that sound. They really overuse that move a little bit, at least in my opinion. I don't know. But the thing I was going to say I like the most about this one was Pamela Voorhees, because they all bring back Pamela Voorhees. All, you know, they do her voice and, you know, my boy and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and there's always the crusty old head that's in his, you know, cabin somewhere and all that. But they actually brought Pamela Voorhees back as a headless zombie who literally kills people.
Yeah.
I was very on board for that. I thought it was fucking a bold decision. And I mean, you look at the dummy, you know, the headless dummy, it looks like something that's not terrifically far off from something you'd buy at like a high-end item at Spirit Halloween or something like that. I would have
been surprised if you told me they just bought the one that was used in Evil Dead 2.
It really does look like that, but it was like I don't know, I was on board for it. I thought they pulled it off okay. There was one scene that was a little corny where the headless Pamela Voorhees pops up, which I'm just gonna start calling her Pam. Can we just call her Pam?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just gonna call her Mom.
Old Pam, old headless Pam. She pops up on the other side of some bushes, and the guy unloads the clip into her. Right. You know, and you find out that she's like, you know, she's basically like the red herring. So he would shoot, you know, all his ammunition. So then turns around, Jason kills him. But I just the image I rewound once of her popping up behind the bushes with no head was a little silly. Like if you'd have took the scary music out, it would have been really funny. But overall, I was on board for it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot because I felt like it kept the movie going like quicker, especially with the kills. Like I feel like they were able to knock them out really fast, because like when she started coming out more and like helping him and telling him to kill everyone too, you know?
Yeah. I know a lot of people, especially big films of this franchise, love to compare what Jason looks like from movie to movie. And of course the masks and, you know, whoever plays Jason, it changes a little bit. This one, the other thing from the kind of timeline thing that this was a bit confusing for me is this was seemed to me very intentionally Friday 13th Part 3 Jason.
That's why I was confused on timeline as well, because that's what he looks like.
Because he's got the shirt. You know, he had like the same shirt from 3, I think. And then he's got that strong pleat in the slacks, like a questionably strong pleat or in the slacks. He just really, the first time I saw him, I was like, oh, that's Friday 3 Jason. But yeah, then they say it happened later or whatever. But in any case.
And plus this is occurring like present day. So it seems like they completely retconned out everything after 4
or 5, yeah, right. So you don't know that Tommy Jarvis. You don't know what happened. They didn't get too much into that. Certainly not as much as like in Never Hike in the Snow, where like Tommy Jarvis literally comes back and he's like the ambulance driver or whatever. But in any case, they bring back some fun characters, obviously at the end here, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I really like that Jason. So the lead convict woman, he hits her with his OG setup finisher, which is jumping out of the lake from the canoe. You know, he jumps up behind her because she ends up in the canoe. He jumps up out of the canoe and snatches her up. That's like Jason's version of the people's elbow. Like it's the setup for the rock bottom. Like I'm gonna snatch you up, jump up behind you in the lake, grab you out of a canoe, but then the machete is the rock bottom. But I love that he pulled out his classic move set for that one.
Right before that happened, did anybody else laugh out loud when she's trying to escape in the canoe and it just doinks into that small island? She's just trying to...
That whole scene was really clumsy, frankly. It just I get he's like a lumbering kind of guy, but it was just it was a very weird, clumsy interaction.
I thought it was funny and perfect though, because it's just she doesn't know how to operate a canoe. Like she's never done it before. She just jumped and decided that's the way she's going to get away and just went doink.
For knowing so much about the legend of Jason Voorhees, and doesn't she even say that he came back after Pamela Voorhees was killed? Like when he's telling the story, I don't know if she mentions a canoe, but I'm like, you are apparently a local historian about the Voorhees family murders in Camp Crystal Lake. You should know not to get in a canoe.
Yeah.
It's not worked in the past. Avoid canoes. But anyway, she got it. She got the setup and the finisher. But overall, you know, they weren't all perfect. But like, again, for a fan film, for a low budget, I would love to know what they spent on this movie. But overall, I thought the effects were great. And they were in all three of them. Especially, I thought that Never Hike in the Snow had maybe the best effects. Not as they didn't go for the gusto quite as much as they did with this one. So they opened themselves up for some vulnerabilities because they were just a little bit more aggressive with the amount of gore scenes and stuff in this one. But overall, I thought the effects were impressive in all three of them.
I mean, probably my favorite effect wasn't even a kill effect. But to use what Meg has already said, when he Kool-Aid mans his way through the cabin, that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
So I just took a drink of beer as soon as she said that. Kind of inhaled a little bit, aspirated, or what do they call it when you inhale into your lungs? I don't know.
Aspirate.
Yeah, aspirated a little bit of beer there. Yeah, he Kool-Aid man.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of one of my more favorite parts about the film overall is just the guy who's playing Jason is obviously super into it, and he's really, really physical and like brutal about it.
He's fantastic. Yeah, he does a really, really great job. And like, I thought that the ones in the other two movies did as well, especially the Never Walk in the Snow. Like, really, so what we're learning here, and I hopefully I never run into Kane Hodder at a convention. He just beats me to death. But it turns out, not that hard to play Jason Voorhees, I think. I think that's what it comes down to. It's not that hard.
You're saying that, but I don't have fond memories of that 2009 remake.
That one was absolute horror. Well, but he was very brutal in that one because you could clearly tell they were trying to do what Rob Zombie did to Michael Myers. They were trying to do with that. But so he was really brutal and violent and stuff. But like, overall, who was the guy? My favorite Jason is from 6. CJ, what's his name? CJ something. His first name's CJ.
CJ Graham.
CJ Graham, that's right. Anyway, I thought he was fantastic. But the ones in these movies I was really impressed with. Performances are hit or miss. Some of them are really great. The deputy in Jason Rising, I thought she was great. She was my favorite. The sheriff was okay, and the cops, the U.S. Marshals, were not great in this one. Frankly, I thought the performances overall were a little better in the previous movie. Although the guy who played the sheriff, who had been the deputy in 6 and was now the sheriff in Never Hike in the Snow, I struggled with him a little bit. But he's also like a pretty accomplished actor. He'd been in a lot of stuff, so I don't know, but he wasn't my favorite performance. But
I mean, to be fair, there's probably like a lot of shitty performances if you really go back to the original films. Like, like, oh my God, think of Jason X performances again, and you'll just go, oh yeah. Some of those are horrific. Listen, but we're talking about a franchise that has Corey Feldman, Crispin Glover, Kevin Bacon,
all the greats. So, I mean, that's the Mount Rushmore of acting right there, I'm pretty sure. And dancing, really, if you think about it.
A lot of dancing in there.
Flash dance, Crispin Glover's dance in that movie.
Charlie's Angels too.
Of course. Well, I'm trying to think of a Corey Feldman dance.
USA Today.
I was thinking USA Today.
Or
I was
USA
thinking
Morning.
of
Good Morning USA. Whatever.
It felt like Corey Feldman should have danced at some point in The Burbs, but I don't think he did.
No.
It was just him and his buddies hanging out on the porch, listening to some jams, but I don't think they ever danced. Shout out anybody out there, if you can tell us a scene where Corey Feldman dances, please DM at Halloween is Forever on Instagram.
And if you can tell us a scene where Corey Feldman dances not like Michael Jackson, even better.
If you can give me a scene where Corey Feldman dances, I will mail you stickers. So shoot me a note. It's that important, Jimmy.
These stickers are now currency. I like it.
They are. I will send you not only 4 stickers, I will also send you 2.5 million Tubi bucks. which is enough for one free download.
One screening of Bride of Head of the Family.
Yeah. I imagine it's going to debut on Tubi.
I hope.
It'll be the first movie ever to debut
awesome.
on Tubi. Yeah, I'll tell you what, in the heat of the battle here, the amount of just kind of joshing around these cops are doing is a little disconcerting.
A little bit.
A lot of murders happening. Things are not looking good, and they are doing a lot of joking around, which I get it. You always got to add some levity to these movies, but inconsistent tone amongst the cops is something that I made mention of. But
I feel like with Bear's death as well, I kind of wanted to see more of a fight there. I don't know how you guys felt about that. I was like expecting that there was going to be some more punching, but it was just like, well, ran out of bullets. Now you're dead.
No, I didn't expect more. That felt almost like a repeat of the Julius fight from 8. Like he decides to go
it really
toe-to-toe.
felt like it was a reference because he even says something like, come on, hit me, motherfucker, or something like that, which I think was a direct quote from 8.
Yeah.
Because doesn't Julius say that and then get his head punched off?
Yeah, something like, show me what you got, or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't take Jason Takes Manhattan, but I remember there was a line where it was like, come on, motherfucker, or something, because I remember them. I remember the scene. I don't remember the exact quote, but it definitely felt like it was a bit of an homage to that scene. Yeah, just the baddest fucking guy in the world.
Yeah.
I was just listening to, they said, obviously a lot of people are doing episodes about Friday the 13th stuff. And I was listening to the Haunted Hangover guys yesterday, and they did like a whole section, and just like, just in remembrance of Julius and his decision to go toe-to-toe with Jason. Yeah, the spine rip scene, I was like, okay, you're losing me a little bit, because there was some like kill scenes where I was like, oh, that was pretty good. And then, yeah, the spine rip scene where, again, it looks like they pull up a slightly elevated Spirit Halloween prop
that's
exactly
just been
what I thought dunked
too.
In corn syrup.
Yeah.
That was a little. It looked like a prop.
Yeah.
In that scene, and it was so unnecessary. Didn't have to do it. I get it. Whatever. You're trying to go big. Won't blame you on that, but. I did like, they were trying to do a lot of like now I vaguely remember Jason doing this in a previous movie, but I could not remember where. He rips the other, U.S. Marshal's arm off and beats him with his own arm. Mm-hmm. Does that happen in another movie? Is that happen like a Hatchet movie or something?
I mean, it's something that's definitely happened in another movie. Like, I've seen it before.
That's what I was saying. I was kind of like, I want to say it was maybe in one of the Hatchet movies, but I've definitely seen it before. I don't know if it was in a Friday the 13th, but I feel like that was an homage there.
If it was in a Friday, I would guess that it was either. Oh, you know what it was in? And I'll tell you what it is. It was Freddy vs. Jason. Jason rips off Freddy's arm and beats him with it.
Yep, I think that's probably what I was thinking of. Because I've seen that movie a number of times. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I know I'd seen it before. Jason also using a chainsaw slightly took me out of it a little bit. The idea of Jason like putting the choke on and then starting it and then pulling the cord a couple times, then putting it into run, then starting it, maybe even pumping the little primer thing a couple times, just feels a little bit of something Jason wouldn't take the time to do. But I was surprised to see he was a steel guy. I always thought Jason would be a Husqvarna kind of bro, but in any case, I got chainsaws on the brain. I just spent all day yesterday cutting down fucking fallen trees in my yard, so I got the chainsaws, and my poor chainsaw, it's just destroyed. It's used to cutting through, soft flesh, and now all of a sudden it has to go through actual wood, and it was pissed off. So overall, I thought in this one, like, it started out really strong. It did fizzle out a little bit, and I think it ended fairly strong. Do you guys agree, or what was your thought on it? Because I really like the headless Pam. I was a sucker for headless Pam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the kills and stuff got a little crazy. I loved, but then it got me back with headless zombie Pam with the chainsaw, where she busts in, where they go to the other cops, and they're set up in like a barn. I don't know what the hell was happening.
That's the original cleanup place where the cop got his.
Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah,
where they found the body and the severed dick and all that.
Because they're having an argument about who has to pick up the dick.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, and there's the two dickhead cops just hanging in there arguing. Yeah. And then
everyone's always like looking at Playboy. I feel like there's just perpetual Playboys everywhere.
I haven't saw a Playboy in real life in 20 years. Right? Like, where are people buying Playboy? Does it even still exist as a magazine? I feel like it does.
I think in other countries.
We're just going to start seeing them at antique shops and stuff like that.
I get this sick bootleg Afghani Playboys or something.
I was thinking more like New Zealand, but
I don't know why Afghani
Australia.
Came to my mind. Yeah.
I think they all do print media still.
I feel like Australians, if we've got any Australian listener, I know we have some Australian listeners, give us a shout out. Do you guys still look at paper nudie magazines? Because that is absolutely fucking charming, and I would be happy to hear more about it.
Oh yeah, pull it out on my smoko.
Any of those Australian listeners that we just mentioned are now gone.
They mad.
They are never coming back.
They mad.
They mad. Yeah, zombie Pam with the chainsaw was fucking rad. Then all of a sudden, kind of out of left field, and I dug this, Alice, right, comes back. Alice from part 1, and then and she was dispatched in part 2 in pretty handy fashion, if I recall. But she is the final girl of the first Friday the 13th movie, the one who hacks off Pamela Voorhees' head. She is sitting at home doing art, having a glass of wine, from what I can understand, and she has a police scanner, I think, is the way that kind of came about, and she overheard. So I took this as she was kind of like the ever vigilant, kind of person who was waiting for Jason to come back a little bit. Like, so she was kind of like a cross between like Jamie Lee Curtis's character from, Laurie Strode from 2018 Halloween a little bit, where she's like kind of she's like the hippie version of her, where instead of being like a crazy prepper, she's kind of like a, just kind of like working on the self-help and
doing art,
drinking wine and painting, but just waiting until she has to cut someone's head off again.
Yeah.
So, but then when she comes back in, she's like, I've done this before. She went from that to the Van Helsing of Voorhees, of the Voorhees family. So I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for as much as everyone kind of knows the curses and like kind of knows stories, she was like incredibly cryptic, and she just wanted those one-liners. She's like, "This is personal," with the shoulder, like it's kind of saucy too.
You were ready for the CSI Miami sunglasses to come down.
Yeah. But I also felt like it was kind of perfect with like when she was putting the head in like some sort of chest.
I imagine us doing that together. Steve just sounded like cats fucking.
God.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh God. Yeah.
Sorry, we were too busy.
No. You guys were in it. That's fine.
Sorry, we were in the pocket. We were in the pocket. We were doing our CSI Miami voice.
I just thought it was great to like really showcase where she was at mentally, with like the head going in the box and then her getting a voicemail, which from what you kind of assume might be her therapist, and like talking about her pills. And she's like, "You've been a little out of it lately." And then she has this head, and it was kind of like a fun scene in my opinion. I don't know.
I really thought it was kind of cool. It wasn't too corny. They didn't play it up too high. She didn't come in with a fucking bandolier of shotgun shells or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to reference there, you just mentioned her doctor with the pills. That's actually Ginny from Friday 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a Ginny Field, because they got the actress name.
Oh, what a weird little Easter egg there. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It's just something I noticed, like in the credits, they gave her a special guest, Amy Steele, as Amy Steele as Ginny Field. And so if you go and look it up, she's from Friday 2.
There's got to be 1,000 little Easter eggs like that I didn't pick up on, just because, what better place to do it than a fan film?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like where people are really going to appreciate it. I'm sure there's a lot more of those. I was questioning her line where she's like, "Payback's a bitch," or so. I don't know if that's exactly what she says. And I was like, why is cutting Pam's head off for the second time payback? If she would have cut your head off, that would have been payback. but why is it payback for her to cut her head off for the second time? I am not entirely sure, but the line didn't make a ton of sense. There might be something I'm missing there, though. But
I mean, we could probably make up something like, because like this is still going on. She's like, you know, I mean, but they definitely don't explain, I think, that enough.
Yeah, she could have had a more punny, weird final line, you know what I mean, than that, but
twice as nice.
I don't know why my immediate thought was, it just makes zero sense, was candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. I don't know why. I just thought of that Willy Wonka line.
She's just some drunk wine ant waiting to kill the Voorheeses again.
Yeah. I just immediately thought of Willy Wonka quips for some reason. I don't know why. But overall, what did you guys think? Like I said, I liked it at the beginning. I thought it started strong, dragged, finished pretty strong. Overall, super enjoyable, and frankly, impressive as a fan film. Although I would argue that this is not in the same level as, 90% of the other fan films out there. There's pretty high production value. Obviously, there were some dollars pumped into it with some legit actors and things like that.
Yeah. I would say, it's definitely within the top echelon of fan films. I saw some other ones of Halloween ones that are pretty good, but at this point, with the way you can get so good with the prosumer level of camera and editing, and anybody can edit at home, and you can do basic lighting, and effects are pretty easy to come by, especially even CGI effects. All that's pretty solid. So where a lot of these fan films fall apart for me is in the script. A lot of the writing just doesn't feel as tight or as complete as it could be. We talked over text, but we didn't mention it on the show. When the characters first go into the woods, the two cops and the two marshals, you would think the local cops would be really hesitant about going in there. And the marshals wouldn't know anything about it. But it's something that just kind of doesn't come across as well. And then again, we already mentioned how the one inmate seems to know everything, but also gets chopped up pretty easy.
The deputy didn't know anything about it. And I get it, the sheriff kept doing the wait, don't do that. And she'd be like, what? He'd be like, never mind. You know what I mean? He kept doing the never minds, and she got mad at him or whatever. So I get it that he was kind of hiding it, but how would she not know if she grew up in this town and they have a history?
Why would he not be more fearful in the beginning to even cross the barrier? It's just, some things just fall apart in the script, and that's okay. But that's kind of, I feel like also when it falls apart in the script of a fan film, a lot of bigger budget films have the excuse of saying that the studio was meddling or whatever. That this is just obviously it's all on you, all on your shoulders. Yeah. So
you also you don't have studios meddling, but you also don't have Hollywood script doctor type of people who can come in here and close holes and clean up your script in a way to make it present a little bit more seamlessly, I guess. Just another pair of eyes helps a lot.
Yeah, and I don't think I have much else to add besides that. What just kept sticking out to me was certain shot choices specifically, outside of just knowing that there's better equipment. But I didn't mention it earlier when it happened, but when Jason first came out of the coffin, officially had his hand punched through, and there's worms kind of hanging on his hand. It's just little stuff like that I'm that's kind of this almost feels like this older throwback of having that detail that doesn't totally mean anything, but also kind of just adds this other creep value to it. But I really like that shot too. And
they did the one with his eye too, with the mask where his eye moving around, and there was little mealworms or something like that in his eye. That was kind of a cool shot.
Yeah. I feel like they just did cool stuff like that in this. But besides what you guys mentioned, that was pretty much the only thing to add.
Yeah. Still better than Jason X.
I was going to say, it's still better than Jason X.
That's what this episode's going to be titled.
Still better than Jason X. It should have been that Jason Rising, still better than Jason X.
So I got one more note for you, Brian, specifically, you'll enjoy this. But you had posted on social media last week that you had started a film and you watched Return to Bloodfart Lake.
I did watch Return, and let me be clear, enjoyed the fuck out of Return to Bloodfart Lake.
I started it as well, and I also enjoyed it. I couldn't pass that up. And then there's also a sequel, or there's Terror at Bloodfart Lake. That's the original.
That's
and
it.
Then
Terror at Bloodfart
Return
Lake,
is the sequel. But yeah, we've both watched both, and we both enjoyed both. But to that point, if you go back in the history of Chris Seaver, who's kind of the producer director of those films, in the 90s, he was doing Friday fan films.
Oh, okay. He has so many, and Kate and I, after we watched that, we were cracking up, and of course, you know, we're imbibing a little bit. So yes, we were the perfect amount of stoned to watch Terror at Bloodfart Lake, because it's just dick and fart jokes, the whole thing. Like it's just it's the one guy who played what was the name of the character?
Hambone.
He was. Well, Hambone, but also he played, the guy who was at the house when they went to they went to the house to stay at Hambone's house or whatever, and then he was the guy who was just like there and introduced himself, and then that guy, whoever that actor was, I remember I looked his name up and I don't remember. He's been in some other things. He's just so fucking funny, and he took some really stupid lines and made them funny with his just insane facial expressions and shit. But that is an absolute piece of that. It felt so much like a movie me and my friends would have made when we were 14 with like my friend's dad's over the shoulder camcorder. We used to make shit like that all the time, but on obviously a much smaller scale. But we're gonna have to. Meg hasn't watched it yet.
I remember seeing you post about that. I'll have to watch both of them now.
Terror at Bloodfart Lake. But anyway, Kate and I were looking at his whole filmography after that, and we were just laughing out loud at just the names, the names of all these. Is it Chris Seaver? You said
Chris Seaver.
It's the guy. Oh, he messaged me after I posted about it. He was like, that's my movie. I was like, it was a fucking blast. And he was like, kind of, you could tell he's like very like, I don't want to say self-deprecating, but just like,
humble about it. Because they know what they're making when they make those films. Because so you asked like, what was the budget on Jason Rising? I don't know, but I can tell you like the budget for Terror at Bloodfart Lake was like $5,000. So
max, for sure.
I think they have it listed on the IMDb. Like I was just going through it and I was like, yeah, okay, 5,000 makes sense.
Yeah, it was you could just say they were all so bought in, and the character of the guy from New Jersey he did the voice, like it was just the whole thing was so fucking funny.
Hilarious.
But anyway, so if you're looking for something to do, don't watch this fanfic or don't watch these fan films, don't watch any new releases, go straight to Tubi, type in Terror at Bloodfart Lake, get stoned, just have a fucking night. You're gonna enjoy it.
I just pulled up his IMDb and I just saw like right before Terror at Bloodfart Lake is I Spit Chew on Your Grave.
Yeah, there's a lot of parodies. Yeah, there's a lot of parodies and shit like that. Read off a couple other ones because there were some killer ones on there.
Let's see, House on Bonejack Hill. I mean, I feel like some of these just sound like they could possibly be porno names too.
Yeah.
Filthy McNasty.
Oh, there's a whole series of Filthy McNasties because there was like Filthy McNasty, Filthier McNasty, Filthiest McNasty. Like there's
it's Filthy McNasty and Teen Ape are his two.
Quest for the Egg Salad.
What was it?
Quest for the Egg Salad.
Yeah, these are real movies, and they're all on Tubi. Yeah. Like 90% of them are on Tubi.
But if you go all the way back to the 90s, because like they've been doing, it's just him and his friends have been doing films for like 20 years. He has Friday the 13th Part 9, Jason vs. Freddy in 1993. So way before. And then Friday the 13th Halloween Night, which I imagine is Michael Myers and Jason.
I remember seeing that one pop up on YouTube or some description of it pop up on, like, I think it might have actually been the Friday 13th fan wiki or something like that. But
yeah.
Did you guys watch Taint Light yet?
No, we didn't watch Taint Light yet.
I didn't watch Taint Light yet, although
Moist Fury.
Moist Fury.
I'm just gonna finish the show by saying moist.
I'm pretty sure one night again after a number of beers or whatever, I feel like I remember putting on Taint Light and falling asleep to it, or just giving up. I was like, I don't have the attention span for this right now. But yeah, you definitely have to be in the right mood. But God, it's fucking they're so funny. But especially if you have the sense of humor of a 14-year-old,
yes.
which I do. So anything else, guys? We're gonna hop back next week with you to talk about our picks for the September episode. We'll obviously have another mini-sode for you, but we'll talk about the Showdown episode and our picks for modern slashers 2000 to present. And once again, you know what? If you feel so inclined, we had some really nice ones. I try to repost them on the Instagram. We had some really nice reviews and kind things that people sent to us, and nice notes and words of encouragement and all those things, which are very, very much welcomed. And I know we've got a lot of new listeners coming on kind of episode over episode. So if you feel so inclined, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or another podcatcher app that allows you to review or subscribe or like or do any of those things, those mean a lot because it gets more ears on the show. So we very much appreciate that. Also, if you've got suggestions to add to the pool for upcoming Showdown episodes, send those our way as well. Or just, follow us, comment, like, subscribe, be our pals on the social media. Once again, at Halloween is Forever on Instagram, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever Podcast on Facebook, or Halloween is Forever Pod at gmail.com if you want to send us an email. So cool. Anything else, guys, before we sign off?
No, I'm good.
Meg's already doing laundry. She's already fucked off. She's already doing laundry. She's like, wrap it up, you bitch. I got things to do.
I need more liquid IV.
Your eyes are...
Are you going to tell me I look awful, Brian?
No, your eyes are half closed, is what I was going to say.
Yeah, nap would be cool, too.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that as well. So. All right, well, we'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for listening, as always, and we'll see you next episode. Bye, 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 bye.